Is there a link to this anywhere? Let me check.
It's in Luke Smith's Twitter.
Gotcha.
At Luke Smith.
Hey everyone, this is Director's Cut Part 2, a now mega long update looking at the last 6 months of Destiny 2 and looking forward to Shadowkeep and maybe a bit beyond. He said it!
Ha He knew where it was.
If you missed Part 1 and you have an afternoon to yourself, go check it out. As the first section grew in length, I figured this section would be the last one. But at some point, Avengers wasn't going to be split into Infinity War and Endgame either. So there will be another part. I love you, 3000. Thank you. I love Luke.
Oh my God.
Looking ahead to Shadowkeep. This fall's necessary first step in turning Destiny 2 into the game we want it to be. Guys, if you're here for No Man's Sky, we're just going to read this briefly and then move on. It's been a very busy year, so let's recap. We assumed publishing control of Destiny 2 and wanted to get something new into your hands as quickly as possible. We paired it with a free entry point and new light and welcome new Guardians into the fold. We wanted to bring Destiny 2 to new platforms to keep heading toward the you could play Destiny anywhere dreams, Steam and Google Stadia. Lol. We're taking the initial steps towards building Destiny as a single evolving world. Oh yeah. And we're doing all of this while cranking 90s on a bunch of the systems changes.
Did you actually say cranking 90?
No, he says
While we're cranking on a bunch of
systems changes we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about heading to Shadowkeep. Here's where we're going this fall.
The care and feeding of RPGs add depth and improve customization. We want to give people who love the RPG aspect of Destiny, like many of us, more stats and depth on the character sheet to sink their teeth into. We want to give players more agency over how they look. We also want armor to have deep pursuits players love about Destiny, which brings the victory of finding their perfect role. Let's talk about armor part 1, mods, stats, trade-offs. In order to allow players to independently pursue gameplay mods and further customize their Guardian fashion, a lot has been done to update armor this fall. We've refactored a number of the stats in the game, we've overhauled the UI, and we've begun to separate capabilities from aesthetics. Time out. Before I go on, I want to interject. It seems like some of the comments from part 1 around MTX are being misconstrued. Maybe I wasn't clear enough, maybe it was too ambiguous, but let me try and clear this up before we get into armor. Destiny has and will continue to have weapons, armor, ghosts, ships, sparrows, and shaders that you can earn from activities to prove to people, the people looking at you or at your character, that you did the thing, whatever it is. I beat the raid a bunch. I earned Iron Banner gear. I played a lot of Crucible. I wanted to gather rain in my shoulder pads, so I played Gambit a ton. I made a sweet set of Astro Shaman gear at the rune table. I farmed that strike for the Mindbender roll that makes people rage, etc. Let me be crystal clear, that isn't changing. I didn't know people thought that.
I didn't know people thought that either.
I didn't either, so that's not changing. Apologies to anyone who got that out of the last thing. Yikes. What we are doing with the new armor system is saying this: find the perks you want, find the armor you want from the mega list of currently available Destiny 2 armor, and pursue that armor to get the elements and stats that you want to combine to make your Guardian. I feel like that answers your question yesterday, or a lot of questions yesterday, about whether or not every armor set will be a set element.
Yeah, they're not. Bianchi said they
he said they weren't. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Destiny also has an MTX store that houses things like sparrows, ships, emotes, ghost holograms, weapon, and universal emotes. The items in that store rotate and can be purchased with silver or bright dust. Starting this fall, bright dust is just another in-game currency you can earn by completing bounties, instead of buying a bunch of engrams and sharding them to generate dust. In Shadowkeep, there are armor sets, weapons, ghost ships, and sparrows coming from destinations and activities. Timon, back to armor. We started out by looking at what period in Destiny's history was a good starting place for evolving the stat game. We felt like it was Taken King: Rise of Iron, and what principles were guiding our new designs. We wanted to separate gameplay and aesthetics to grant more agency over both. There was a deep dive stream into this topic on August 14th, but let's recap some of the high-level points. Armor now has an energy meter rating from 1 to 10. You can use materials and currency to level up the energy value of a given piece of armor. Mods have both an energy cost and an elemental affinity. In order for a mod to be equipped, your armor needs to have rolled the correct element and have enough energy available. E.g., hand cannon reloader costs 3 void energy to equip, so your armor must have rolled void and have 3 energy available to use it. Fundamentally, this means that we have additional vectors for tuning things like mods. We could tune their effects. How much does the reload speed effect add? We can tune their cost. How expensive is the mod socket? We could add mods to the pool of a different affinity, etc. When you acquire a mod from the game, it's like getting a perk that you can put on all armor. Once you've found enhanced hand cannon reloader from Pinnacle activities, enhanced perks will come only from Pinnacle activities. You will be able to socket that mod into new armor that meets the criteria. The mod is not consumed and can be socketed in and out for a small cost. So does that confirm? Okay. Here are the elements of armor. Okay. Does that confirm that specific mods will have specific elemental affinities or not?
Yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
100%. It feel I feel like it pretty much does.
It's to doing that allows them to stop it from having like stupid OP rolls.
No, I
shit
completely
that's gonna break the game. They still
No,
have
I
tuning,
completely
but you still
agree.
have a lot of customization.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, it seemed like locking it to elements was a tuning mechanic.
Yeah. Where did you leave off there?
Yeah. So the elements that can roll randomly is where I left off.
Elements that can roll are Solar Arc and Void. Armor's starting energy value can roll randomly as well. They could roll all the way to level 10. Stats all roll random values: intellect, discipline, strength, mobility, resilience, recovery. Like in the Take a King, these stats will have breakpoints to decrease their cooldowns. Yes, or Sparrow now shows up on the character sheet. Begin math time. Today in SE2, the base recharge rates convert to a stat value of 30 in the new system. Getting at 30 isn't too difficult. Though, of course, some people, but not certainly you, will ride the RNG roller coaster and get the stat they really want to 30. By chasing a good stat roll, you could achieve the fast recharge rates available in the game today without needing these to use mods. Okay. It is totally possible to put together a plus 100 intellect without socketing a single mod. Some of the new mods will provide a plus 10 to give a stat that you need to help you shore up stats you care about. So 30 is where they are now. End of math time. We made a bunch of armor in Destiny. We don't want to leave it behind by any of the armor that players can currently pursue. So we've also updated every new drop in the game to integrate and leverage the new system. This means if you want to go back and get the small Titan shoulders from Sloan and Titan, you can go chase a roll on them that uses the new system. A number of current mods will not work in the new armor that's dropping this fall, but those mods aren't being depreciated or deprecated rather at this time. For example, your super mods on your current armor will still work, but super mods cannot be socketed in a new armor as they're being replaced with intellect, essentially, chat. Did I skip a paragraph? Which one did I skip?
But specialization may come at a price. Because you've specialized in intellect, you may be making trade-offs for other stats. Example, grenades can come back slower or something. It really depends on your stat rolls. But if your grenades are back slower, then maybe Demolitionist, the perk that you've been dismantling, it's actually pretty good on non-primary weapons, will start to look appealing. That's the one you missed.
Okay. I don't know where I left off now. Chat was yelling at me about missing paragraphs.
We did this
because we think the evolutions we're making in armor is a great step for Destiny in the long haul. We want you to decide when you migrate to them. Armor migration, amplifying depth and choice via new stat systems ushers in some change to armor. We've converted all the current Destiny armor to use the stats, so cooldown durations will change as we migrate to the new system. You'll be able to see cooldown timers of your legacy armor when Shadowkeep patch goes live. Here's what we don't want to happen. You feeling like the game deprecated my old armor and perks? That time I spent playing Forsaken and its annual pass content was a waste. Since all the new perks or all the perks on the armor got turned off while Bungie forcibly migrated this to the new system. Here's how we hope it works. If you've got a pretty hardcore player, really lucky, there's a set of armor today with perfect for you rolls, like a fully loaded enhanced hand cannon, enhanced gun you like set perks. I think you're gonna keep using them for a while. I certainly expect the world's first raid teams are going to go into Forsaken era gear that they've infused up through Shadowkeep power progression. And you could go from there, Ben. I take care of everything.
Sure. As weeks go by and players approach Shadowkeep, power cap and start finding mods with enhanced perks. We think that that's when our most invested progression chasing players will start to move over. Players can totally mix and match between new and old armor that they have. For players without perfectly rolled gear, we think the transition to the new armor system is one they'll make pretty quickly. In our long-form playtesting, our internal teams, not Velveeta, those are the internal, these are other internal playtesters. Sidebar, I'm really disappointed I missed out on the craftiest pun in part 1. Good catch, Reddit. God damn it, Luke. We found they used their current armor on their main Guardian, but rapidly switched to armor 2.0 on less played alts. Remember Live Journal? Let's do it. With how I play, it's a crude mix of fashion function and economic efficiency. I rarely invest resources in an item until it's an item I know I want to use. I don't infuse very often unless I need a specific piece or role for an activity. I don't have a favorite class. I play all three. I tend to rotate them based on what's most effective or needed for the play group at the given moment. I personally love it when the game gets hard, and I feel like it would benefit from more challenge. I really liked how contest mode enforced an action game skill component on the world first attempts. I totally have my favorite weapon archetypes, which I will spare you. And the thing I get most frustrated at as a player is when there's an archetype I feel I absolutely have to use all the time because it is far and away the most efficient thing. This is because I do, when playing content that matters, have to be using the most efficient thing. This creates some interesting discussions with the team at work when they create something that's super fun but isn't actually efficient to use. I will totally mess around and get a triple-double in patrol with a weird weapon, but the weird weapon isn't going to get used in Crown of Sorrows in a Crown of Sorrows group early in the season.
What's relevant about this part?
Even then, I'm not really sure. I'm sure he's going to get to a point.
This is like, yeah.
Even then, I want to get through the content as quick as I can. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. All nicely loaded items. I won't wear rating, new equipment. Okay. Back to what I started with. We want the transition to ultimately be your choice. One that you decide to make when you want to make it. Maybe you're ready to start tinkering with stats. Maybe you really want to start combining universal ornaments and currently dropping armor to up your fashion game. Or maybe like me, you'll do both at the same time, but hopefully with less mocking from your so-called friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get that point at all.
I think that was just him explaining how he plays.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
Pursuit of power and increasing player agency. We'd like the act of chasing power and stats for your build to be something you have a bit more agency over, not a full-blown play order you want all the time, because that means people just find the most efficient thing rather than dipping their toes into a bunch of different activities. But certainly less restrictive than it's been in the past. So we've also had a long-standing challenge in Destiny for making XP matter, and that feels like a real growth opportunity for us to dig into. This section discusses powerful sources and changes coming this fall. I think this is important. Like mentioned in part 1, the number of powerful sources in Destiny 2 ballooned in the annual pass. We curating down the sources in Shadowkeep. Our target is to get to a number of powerful sources closer to Forsaken launch levels. And Forsaken, as you overlevel an activity, meaning your power gets higher than the activity's reward would become less valuable. The inverse was also true for underleveled. In Shadowkeep, we've changed that. Instead of this system, we'll advertise a consistent expected powerful reward regardless of your power relative to it. Over the years, we've come to discuss several parts of Destiny in terms of short, medium, and long-term goals. In the simplest terms, short-term goals can be completed in a night or a week. Medium term can be done in several weeks, and long-term goals can take anywhere from a season to several seasons. For some folks like me, getting good at a part of the game may take a lifetime. That's a personal mastery goal. We think reaching max power can be a medium-term goal for power progression-focused players. For those players, we hope the pursuit of stats and someday trying out new builds would be their long-term goal. I say someday because we're taking our first steps in build crafting of new armor mod framework this fall. We think we're going to learn a bunch about making a viable build in Destiny requires. You're going to surprise us with crazy creative things. Prime engrams, we're doing some minor housekeeping to primes. They'll begin dropping once you hit 900. You'll accumulate charges for them as you make your way from 750 to 900. We've increased the number of prime engrams you can get in a week, and we rebalance the value of each one and count the increase in volume. World drops. As far as contributing your power level, world drops often feel like a waste. To get away from that, we've made some changes that allow these drops to help players progress beyond the soft cap. World drops and Shadowkeep will have a chance to drop at a player's current power level. That's cool.
That's
Oh,
great.
at current level. That's actually
That's
dope.
great.
Oh.
Yeah, that'll be nice stepping stones. So basically, if you get a level, it might be best to farm world until you are on level for your whole set. Oh, yeah, if you get like a level. Preparing for new. Oh wait, I missed a thing.
Here's an example.
Here's an example. A player has an overall power level of 912. Gloves are the lowest slot at 906. Player might open up a legendary engram, receive 912 gloves. So it's like double RNG there. We're making this change because we feel like world legendaries are a little undervalued at the moment. This isn't some grand accelerant for power progression, but rather a little quality of life experiment to reward your free roaming adventures and random legendary activities. Preparing for new light. One of the essential parts of new light is crushing the barriers between friends. Today, one of those barriers is power level. To players, power level can mean we have different goals. We don't play together. A new player starting at 10 power could naturally feel like they had to play all the other content in many ways, many hours. You could play with a friend who recommend the game to you. That doesn't sound very sweet. It's like telling someone to play a MOBA and saying, we'll play when you have 100 hours when you've learned to last it. That's funny. That's not where we want new light. We want new players and veterans colliding quickly. After Black Armory, we made a deliberate choice to try to do this with each season. Both Season of the Drifter and Season of Opulence had bounties to boost players at the power level. With New Light and Shadowkeep, we begin bigger moments in Collision. We're continuing that philosophy, but optimizing the mechanics to fit the moment. We're setting the power this fall to 750 for returning to new players. We want you all to be together when Shadowkeep opens. Here's what this means. Every single item in the game being raised to a power floor of 750 when Shadowkeep and New Light launch. Don't infuse anything, chat. Every item in your inventory end vault is going to automatically jump to 750.
Nice.
It's like a free global burst of infusion for all players, which means that right now you should stop spending currency to infuse your gear sets or a C tier of weapons that you're keeping around until the patch notes,
Fucking
just in
wonderful.
case they're going to be good after the changes. Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
There's going to be there's going to be many buffs coming up. It's very tempting to spoil a bunch of them, but I'm not. I'm gonna, but it's gonna wait for the patch notes. More power, more problems. We originally had this as Mo instead of more, but I changed it. Yes, okay. Thank you, Luke. I'm the first to say rising power for all players globally is indicative of a greater problem. It's really weird that someone would boot up New Light and then immediately they're 750. The capital P power level in Destiny, or Light as it was known in Destiny 1, has been asked for over a lot of years. For a time in Destiny 1, it was one of the only things players had to pursue. In D1, Power Light meant something in terms of achievement, but that badge of honor had its problem. Forever 29 raid boots, etc. Oh, thanks, Luke. That's me, chat. Destiny 1 and Light power level over the player's head drove players to the raid to raise it. Over time, we gave the players other paths for raising their Light, Nightfall, and Iron Banner. We took Light off the nameplate and made it 3 digits in the Taken King, turning Light into something more like a 3-digit item level, but without stat budgeting assigned to it where the stats dictate true character power. At D2 launch, we shortened the power climb, oversimplified the game, and made it too easy to get items, focused on bringing new players in. We hoped those players would pursue looks alone as their endgame. We were wrong, while we continued to build features that would become the Forsaken Triumphs. During that period, we also democratized power, so players didn't need to raid or play Nightfall to reach max power. They could kind of just do any weekly. Forsaken introduced gold sources on the map. Over and over the year, the number of powerful sources increased. See, power has a lot to do with the amount of players damage, deal, and receive. In fact, it's the biggest factor in it, and it's also the thing to pursue. Our gameplay specialists, the roles dedicated to Destiny players to come in and participate in long-form playtesting with their with their imported from home character, frequently point out they can't engage with a number of parts in the game until they've completed the power climb. Over the years, we've made the power climb shorter and shorter, and we've made it easier to reach max level. We introduced things like triumphs, titles, and collections to provide additional stuff to do as prestige for the power waned. In Shadowkeep, we're doing things differently. First, we're introducing a seasonal artifact, unique and thematic to each season. As the artifact levels up, it can do a few things. First, it becomes the source of seasonal artifact mods, unique mods that can be equipped only during that artifact seasons. These mods may be brand new experimental mods or powerful mods with reduced energy costs, enabling characters and us to experiment further in build crafting. Second, the seasonal artifact can award players with a power bonus, but that bonus is not applied to gear, nor does it increase the power of future drops. But instead, it's a boost of power to all of your characters. This means to give players who can't or won't or don't play Pinnacle activities a seasonal path to power. This way, even if a player doesn't play the Raid, Iron Banner, or the Redacted, they can still have a high power value for the season. Leveling the artifact to raise your power is meant to be a seasonal character growth. Each season will have a new artifact with mods to change how you play, but the power bonus will reset. That's really interesting. So there's going to be the passive path to max power for individuals that don't want to raid and participate in other endgame activities is just basically going to be leveling this artifact, which is pretty neat. In addition to curating the list of powerful sources, Shadowkeep will introduce Pinnacle powerful sources. These sources are the only way to earn gear drops above 950 power in Season 8.
Oh,
Clap,
wow.
clap.
Wait, above 950?
Yes. Here's the thinking. Pinnacle reward sites can award players power above 950. This is a way of reclaiming a little bit of the character power prestige in the initial D1 power climb. If you inspect a player and see that their gear is 960, you know that they've done a bunch of Pinnacle activities. It's worth mentioning that as you raise your power via Pinnacle activities, other powerful reward sites will continue to drop powerful side grades. That is fucking awesome. All of this said, power and
Pinnacle reward sites are Iron Banner, Raid, and Redacted?
Yeah.
Okay.
That might not be a full list. That could be like a truncated list.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was what was mentioned. All of this said, power in D2 is still imperfect. We're making adjustments to this year for Shadowkeep. Things like seasonal power bonuses, Pinnacle activities awarding Pinnacle power. But as we look toward the future, we feel like the power system may benefit from a rework further down the road. There is real potential in creating more agency for players, figuring out if power should be more prestigious or not, taking on the challenge of how we keep players relatively close together season after season while still allowing them to progress. Here's something I missed from D1. Filling bars on my items and using materials to level items. Yes! Even though I ended up with more Ascendant and Radiant materials I could ever need, the existence of these materials meant the hunt for powerful rolls could go on longer. I think wanting and needing materials is a good thing as long as you know what you can do to pursue the material. And I'm glad we're getting a little more of that back in Destiny with Shadowkeep. I love it. Okay, need masterwork cores? Well, we don't have a good answer for that much of the year. Lesson learned. Stay tuned to Bungie.net for the third installment of Director's Cut, which focuses on MMO action game, think combat and PvP, with the bonus sections on the evolving world coming to Destiny this fall. This was
that sounds
fucking
great, dude.
incredible.
I'm about it. It sounds like if you're a casual player and you upgrade your artifact, like you'll still be able to get to higher power.
Yes.
You know? But as like a raider or, doing these other things, but Iron Banner is it's casual too, chat. So it's not like you won't have that view. It's a great view. I'm actually gonna go get a cup of coffee. That all sounds great, man.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
I'm